The BMW M4 Competition is the high-power rear-drive version of BMW's iconic and aspirational sports coupe. Powered by the 3-litre twin-turbo S58 inline 6-cylinder engine, the M4 Comp can throw down 375 kilowatts through the rear wheels, with 650 Nm available between 2750 and 5500 RPM to get you moving quickly at any time you like. Our car in skyscraper grey features the style 826M wheels in black, plus a whole stack of M Performance carbon fibre accessories.
Now obviously a car like the M4 is going to be a lot of fun on a beautiful twisting country road where you can let the thing off the leash and really have a blast. But odds are this is going to be, well, I don't want to call it your daily driver, but you are going to need to drive this car around town. So while we're heading out through traffic, we'll just talk a little bit about why the M4 is actually still a really good and versatile platform, even as a regular driver. That twin turbo 6 is obviously a real powerhouse. Like the fact that all 650 Newton meters are yours from under 3,000 RPM all the way through to 5,500 RPM means you've got that tremendous amount of tractability throughout the rev range that you can use this car kind of off the boil, nice and easily through traffic, but it means there's always some response. And even looking at it now, we're doing 80 in traffic, we're doing 1,500 RPM. So the car is relaxed, there's no real urgency to it, we're comfortable. I haven't got my heated seats on yet, but give it time, this is Melbourne. And realistically, as a car that has been, I guess, born from the homologated race car of the original E30 M3 through to what is now a Grand Tourer, because the M4 is a very, very accomplished car these days. You've got comfortable seats, and these seats are pretty excellent, I have to say. Like, they are really snug, nice and firm, just the right amount of grip. But we've gone over some bumps, we've dealt with a few imperfections in the road, and nothing feels particularly uncomfortable or super racy. Now, I will say that by saying that we have the car in its standard mode. We haven't turned on either the M settings, haven't adjusted anything. You've got obviously the cool buttons on the steering wheel here that allow you to change from your preset of M1 to M2, where things can liven up. But to use this car as a regular driver, there is an awful lot to like about the M4. Now, while focusing on the M Performance gear on the outside and that impressive exhaust, around the inside of the cabin, this car has got the M Carbon pack in here. And so we've got carbon fibre on the dash inlays, on the center console, and on the seats. And there's, look, they're open to discussion about what you would call them, but there are hard carbon fibre elements to the actual seat base that I can't say I've seen before. And initially you're like, oh really, you did that? But it's not uncomfortable. I imagine they're there to catch coins or things of the like, and I'm sure if you are eating in the car, they're a lot easier to clean. But yeah, look, it's definitely a style choice inside here, and perhaps not the option you really need to tick. And even stopped at the lights, I can see I have carbon fibre on my steering wheel, on my shift paddles, on the center of the steering wheel. Like I said, on the seats, on the runners, on the outside of the seats, I'm looking around, on the backs of the seats. So the amount of carbon fibre that has been added to this car, we're lucky that there's not a carbon fibre shortage as well as a semiconductor shortage, because this car is eating it all up. Now, obviously, dynamic suspension is something that has become prevalent across many cars in the BMW lineup, and the M4 is no exception. And here in the comfort settings, it honestly is a really, really comfortable tourer. We're on a main road, right? We are dealing with well-paved surfaces, but there are cracks, there are bumps, there are divots, there are cat's eyes, there are surface changes like I just went over then. And this really is a likeable, comfortable car, which is, I think, one of these things where a car like an M4 or an M3 feels like you're crossing into a level of racerdom that is not suitable for daily use. And like this car is highly suitable for daily use. I would always have an M3 rather than an M4. I love the four doors, I love the look of the sedan, plus for me, the badge. I've always wanted an M3. It's I guess it's an aspirational thing. M3, M4, doesn't really matter. You can live with these every single day, and I think that's a really, really high point for these cars, that if you are buying one as your executive transport or a bit of a well done, James, you've worked hard this year, go and get yourself a fun car. This thing can Jekyll and Hyde with the best of them. So now as we run through a bit of traffic, so here we go. We've got a road is opening up in front of us. This is the difference in the cabin between regular M4 and angry M4. Now, I don't know about you, but I can hear a deeper tone. I can hear a poppling and a burbling below, but this hasn't changed dramatically so. Now, I know that if I was taking this car through a performance environment, that things would start to free up, that would begin to feel a little bit more urgent. And even if I shift down there, and we're now in fourth, I'll go down to third, and just a little stab. Now you can probably hear this, but this is a third gear change on that exhaust that actually sounds really kind of cool. And the good bit about it is that you've got a muscular and kind of aggressive sound without that boy racer crackle map that you get in your Golf Rs and things like that. However, it's a $15,000 exhaust. So you kind of want it to sound pretty cool, and you want it to give you a little bit of, I guess, more free-flowing nature of the car's ability. And being a turbocharged engine, intake and exhaust, that whole kind of breathing process for a turbo, an exhaust really can help a lot. So without testing it on a dyno and without being able to go back to back, we can't sort of unequivocally say that yes, this is $15,000 well spent. But in terms of noise, you've got that really rich kind of purr coming below. And don't get me wrong, an M4 sounds great as it is. BMW know how to make a 6-cylinder car sound really cool. But this is pretty sweet, and I don't know if it's worth 15 grand, but it's pretty cool. So here now, we've got a bit more road to use. It is a bit rougher, it's a bit tighter, and there's a bit more traffic. But we're able to sort of understand the car, and you can probably see my inputs on the steering wheel. We are moving around a reasonable amount, so we're in the firmest setting that we can possibly be. And like with all other M cars, you can adjust that to where you want. And even if I go back to my M1 setting here for nice and easy, and I've got that on sport performance of the engine rather than sport plus, the mid setting on suspension, which is just sport, and now steering on comfort, and my brakes on comfort. Comfort suspension, it's kind of weird. The mid setting is probably as firm as you need to go on Australian roads, because stepping up that little bit more, and we've seen it in other cars, not just BMWs, where that firmer setting, you tend to just be moving a bit too much around the road. For most Australian roads where you have a lot of imperfections in the surface, that mid setting is fine. Now, BMW have said in their marketing collateral that M is the most powerful letter in the alphabet. But what if you want more M's? What if you want to M up your M to a bit more M-y that it is out of the box? Well, this car has gone and ticked all the boxes of the M Performance catalogue on the M4. And that is a lot of M's in a sentence, which sounds like a Sesame Street episode. But let's stop and I'll show you what you get, because there's some cool stuff for styling, which is carbon fiber accessories. There is that impressive exhaust, but it's kind of different and it's kind of an acquired taste, and I'm not really sure it's me, but there's definite audio benefits to having that system. So we'll pull over and I'll give you a bit of an understanding of what happens when you take all the M's out of the alphabet and stick them on your BMW. Now, in typical Melbourne fashion, it is freezing cold out here, so I will need my jacket and my glasses, because I'm going to read through what all of the M Performance carbon fiber accessories cost. And I tell you what, if you are asking Santa for these for Christmas because you've been a good boy or girl this year, you better make sure Santa has a pretty solid credit line, or at least wants the points, because you are up for a reasonably large spend. Now let's start here with the carbon fiber rear wing. Take it or leave it, I don't really know. It's obviously aerodynamically designed, and sure, it will physically provide more downforce, but I actually think it ruins the lines of the M4, so I wouldn't tick that box, which is lucky because it's $6,700. Now, obviously down here we have the M Performance exhaust, which there's more to it than obviously a little bit of dress up. You've got a brilliant sound, you've got a more free-flowing engine, but you've got this crazy triangular quad tip center exit, which again, a bit of taste. I'm not sure if it's for me, but it sounds good, so I'm willing to forgive it. However, it is $15,500 to make that choice. Coming around the side of the car to keep the carbon fiber theme going, you've got these rear winglets. The spats on the back are $2,800. Now, of course, to keep the carbon fiber theme running along the side of the car, you have these side skirts, which are another $4,000. What I will also say is you've got to be really careful when stepping in and out, because they're right where your feet want to go, and that's a really expensive slip if you do happen to, well, mess up. Let's take a look at the front of the car, because there's a couple more pieces to check out. Now, for the final piece of the carbon fiber puzzle, you have two more elements. You have these tiny little canard wings here, which, you know, in aerodynamic sense, basically give you more downforce on high-speed turn-in. Do they help you find a car spot at Woolies, which is always my benchmark? No, they don't, but they do look cool. However, they are $1,400. But what does look cool and really kind of helps the aggressive nose of the M4 is that front splitter in carbon fiber, and I'm just looking now, $4,100 for that. Now, I will save you the time to run to the abacus. That is just shy of $35,000 worth of accessories on this car, from the exhaust to the carbon fiber elements. That's a $200,000 car that we have here. That is a big step up from where the M4 certainly used to be, and even where this car, the M4 Competition, is positioned. Now, it does give you a unique proposition. It allows you to personalize your car, but by gosh, you really need to be well invested in your car to see $35,000 worth of dress-up performance. Now, of course, the most important question when adding carbon fiber dress-ups, does it look good? Do you know what? I reckon it does. Now, the crazy thing about all of this is with the new generation M4, you do get that brilliant inline 3-litre 6-cylinder twin turbo with 375 kilowatts and 650 Newton meters. But with all the carbon fiber accessories on the outside, what you used to get under the bonnet of the M3 and the M4 was a brilliant carbon fiber bracing system around the engine bay. Now we don't. We've got a cool alloy brace that's obviously very well designed to keep the car nice and taut, but it used to be a bit of a surprise when you open the bonnet of the M4. And I find that a little bit weird that we've got all of this accessories on the outside and then nothing under the bonnet where we used to. And it's a bit of a shame. Now, before we set off, it's worth noting that the M Performance exhaust, for your $15,500, you get light steel front pipes and then a titanium muffler, and it gives the car a bit more of an aggressive noise, even on the outside. Now, that new system, it saves about 8 kilograms on the standard factory exhaust. But I'm going to tell you that if you want to save weight, that's a powered boot in a 2-door sports coupe. That's an awful lot of weight to have there for hinges and motors and bits and pieces on something that no one in the world needs, an electric boot on an M4. So BMW engineers, if you do want to save weight on this car, as well as that exhaust, just make that a normal boot. Anyway, let's hit the road, because I've got a nice windy stretch where we can put this thing to a real test. Now, of course, there are other elements to the BMW M4 other than its performance credentials. You have a really nice 12-inch touchscreen here. The new BMW OS works really well. Initially, it was different from where we'd seen BMW iDrive software go. Took a little bit while to get used to it, but now that we are, it is pretty impressive. And of course, you get the BMW connected services, which you do actually need to link to get the most out of the car. Some of the features only work if you have it connected to your BMW connected account. But obviously, if you're buying this car, you're going to do that, so it's not really a deal. But the system works really well. There's some great features there. You can communicate with the car on your phone. You've got a full digital instrument cluster here as well as a head-up. The head-up can be configured from a standard mode to an M mode where you get cool graphs of your tacho and bits and pieces running through it. Fuel consumption wise, if you really care, we're averaging 14s, and that's because we've been driving the car. In previous experience with the M3 and the M4, you can actually be reasonably frugal on a day-to-day basis. And then when you do get a chance to get things moving, it goes up, but it doesn't go up ridiculously so. So it's an impressive engine here in that you get tremendous performance and amazing flexibility, but you also get reasonable economy for what you're doing. So don't expect this to be a super hyper-miler green car. Don't go and impress any of your electric car owning friends by saying I'm saving the environment with an M4. All I'm saying is, in context of a high performance vehicle, this one actually is pretty good. The only downside though is, and it's kind of weird, we've said this on a number of occasions, cars are moving in dog years at the moment. So 1 year is 7 years in terms of development. And what we can sort of see here is you've spent a lot of money on this car. This car with all its stuff on it is not giving you much change, if any, on the road for $200,000. So a reasonably considerable amount of money to invest. And we've got little bits of plastic that you get on a standard 3 Series, just passing a truck. You've got elements that do sort of point to the fact that the M4 is the high performance version of the 2-door version of the 4-door car that's used as a rental or a taxi in some markets. So there are some touch points that are perhaps not as nice as they really could be for 200 grand. You know, you've got really good things here with the stitched shift knob, the beautiful BMW steering wheel. BMW does a great steering wheel, I will say. But you know, other fiddly elements with some of the tech to use what's on here on the instrument cluster, where we're seeing brands like Mercedes-Benz offering full configurability with what you can do. The BMW has one flavor, and it's the BMW flavor. It's not a bad thing, but it's just something that we would like to see perhaps a bit more, certainly high up in the range where the M4 lives. So out of here, giving the M4 a bit of a chance to stretch its legs. And we are in the Emist mode that there is. And as I go through my multifunction display up here, and again, like I said before about the tech, you can only have one of your multifunctions displaying at any one time, which, you know, I'd like to see a bit more of. I like my data. But anyway, we've got everything in its full Angry Sport Plus mode. So we are as powerful and as stiff and as tight as we can possibly be. And the response of the car, no question, absolutely brilliant. And you can hear it shifting down as we're coming through this pass. Now, we are on standard steel rotors. We don't have carbons on this car, but it pulls up really nicely. We're not really washing off a lot of speed here, but there's enough and definite feel in the brakes, even over changing elevations like that, to make it feel like we have got plenty of control. But what I have found on this road is you're not kind of struggling with the undulations and the bumps and the imperfections. The car is actually managing it really nicely. And even with steering in our sport setting here, we are not feeling too tight. We're not feeling that the car is a struggle against, and it really is lovely and direct. We're able to stay in this lane without too much trouble whatsoever. And now remembering too, this is the rear drive M4. You can get this as an all-wheel drive car that gives you perhaps a little bit more corner exit performance, but a bit more stability. I'm not finding the back of the car moving around anywhere near the point of concern, and I'm managing some reasonable pace through here, signposted of course, but the important thing is it's still a lot of fun. And where a car like this is brilliant is that it gives you the opportunity to still feel challenged, even though you can then just go and drive to the shops and pick the kids up from school, and that's an important thing. Am I finding any benefit to the carbon fiber goodies that we've got on this car? Absolutely not. They just look cool. Am I finding any benefit to that rear wing? Well, I can see it through the rear view mirror, but not really, right? We're not getting any more downforce here. We don't need it. This is not the Nürburgring. Again, you can have it for a stylistic choice. I wouldn't. But the exhaust, you know what? It sounds cool. And it's part of that enjoyment of a car. And I say it often that if a car doesn't feel fun slow, it doesn't matter if it feels fun fast. And this car feels fun slow. And right now, it feels pretty jolly fun fast too. Like, listen to that. Now wash off a bit of speed there. The brakes are actually really good. We've got a little bridge coming through into this corner. Wash off the speed. The car feels lovely and direct. It is doing exactly what we want it to do. And I'm not changing gears, by the way. I've left the car in automatic. There's enough for me to think about without that. But you can feel the rear. It's got the M dynamic differential on this car. We've got that setting on. You can feel it obviously managing traction control, but obviously trying to give us a little bit of play as we come around those tighter corners. And it does make this an entertaining car. You can probably see I have a big smile on my face, and that is what a BMW M4 or an M3, if you're choosing the badge, does. They are, God, they're a lot of fun. Like, it really is a car that you get out of and your heart starts and you're sort of like, whew, that was a joy. And then we can dial it back down. Where are we? We'll go to off mode. We're now in our full comfort settings. It feels really doughy and docile. It's quiet in here. I might turn my heated seats back on, take a breath and enjoy the countryside, because this is a very pretty part of Melbourne, in a car that I can live with every single day, except for perhaps that rear spoiler, which between you and me would go in the bin. That is $6,000 I would not spend on this car. But gee, I tell you what fun, what fun. Well, look, between you and me, there's not a lot to not like about an M4 Competition. It is a car that, as I said earlier, is quite fun and usable slow, and is a lot of fun and very usable fast. And as a performance coupe, and even as part of being a Grand Tourer, that's really what you're after. Now, whether you're shopping for an M3 or an M4, I'm an M3 guy, as I said, there is a lot to like about this format. As to the M Performance accessories, are they worth an extra $35,000 on top of the M4's already high purchase price? Do you know what? I kind of think that's up to you. These are a style statement piece. That new exhaust system, yes, it takes a bit of weight out of the car, does sound amazing, but the car doesn't sound bad even with the standard system.
So what did we like about the BMW M4 Competition M Performance? Well, first of all, this is a wickedly fast and accessibly fun car. It can manage the Jekyll and Hyde switch between road monster and stylish commuter far more easily than you would expect. And yes, that new exhaust sounds pretty darn sweet. On the downside, and in particular reference to the M Performance editions, is this really a $200,000 car that it becomes when you tick every single M box there is? And if you do tick all those boxes, that new rear spoiler, look, it's pretty naff. I'd rather see a CS-style ducktail lip on there. And while we didn't make a big deal about it in the clip, BMW still only offers a 3-year warranty in a world where even Mercedes-Benz has a 5-year product. Come on, BMW, the product is great. Why don't you stand behind it?
Now, you know what we've gotten all the way through this clip and not even mentioned once? The new nose on the M4, because you know what? It doesn't matter anymore. When the car was released, it was the most polarizing design part of the new M4 and M3 range, but now we've just become used to it. It is part of the character of the car. You either like it or you don't, but no matter what, that is still one hell of an impressive vehicle. Now, if you've enjoyed this clip and want to see more, don't forget to hit like and subscribe and tap the bell icon so you get a notification every time we publish a new video. Of course, we're going to run a full detailed review of the M4 Competition with the M Performance accessories, and we'll identify and break down all the elements that we've spoken about today. If you have any questions, of course, you can ask us at Drive.com.au, or you can hit us up in the comments below.